Well, I am so excited about what we are talking about today because I think a lot of people come to coaching not knowing exactly what to expect. They also come to coaching a lot of times, at least for my clients, with very little idea of what coaching is and how to kind of make the most of the opportunity. So when you wrote this amazing blog post about how to invest in yourself and how to make the most of your coaching engagement, I really thought it was quite brilliant to give people some really practical tips on what they can do to make sure that they optimize the experience, because it really is a huge investment in themselves, in their success to sign up for coaching.
Yep. No, I mean, I realized as I was working with some of my clients that there was so much more they could be getting out of it. And that maybe I hadn't helped them have the tools to be able to do it. And one of the reasons I crowdsourced it was because I knew I didn't have all the answers. And some of the ideas that were coming from other coaches just reinforced what I had felt. And it was a really great place to be able to help people understand like what they need to do to get the most out of it.
And I like it so much. I think I'm going to add it to my like intro sequence for coaching clients.
Me too. I'm sending it to my client. I'm sorry. I guess it sounds a little self-effacing.
No.
Me too. But yeah, I mean, I actually wrote it in the midst, or the idea sparked when I was working with a client who I felt like kept looking to me to have all the answers, which I would love to have all the answers, but the answers were really in him. And he needed to do more to prepare and to get more out of coaching. And so I really felt like it was a great way to remind everyone what the best thing to do to get out of coaching is.
So what was the number one takeaway for you as you crowdsourced this article of what people can do to get the most out of their coaching experience?
Number one, I'm torn. The two. One, I'm going to say is just that preparation, taking the time to know what you want to get, what your goals are for coaching. So setting the goals from the beginning, which, as you know, many of us, especially for Wayfinders, we have a questionnaire. So we help you figure out what those goals might be. So you're not starting with a blank slate, but it's a really good opportunity to decide what are your ultimate goals? What is success going to look like? What will be different for you as a result of coaching? So really setting the goals from the get-go. And once you do that, to keep revisiting the goals throughout the coaching engagement. And I know for myself, and I know with other Wayfinder coaches, we always do a midpoint check. Are we on track? Should we readjust the goals? What do we want? Have you reached where you wanted, what you thought you wanted to reach, and you want to go further, or do we need to reevaluate what's really important for your goals? And then the preparation for each session, I think, is really critical. I jot down in the article, I like carving out 30 minutes ahead of time. Not everyone has that luxury of time, but really, if you're running from a meeting to your coaching session, you don't have enough time to really think, what do you want to get out of it? You're taking a lot of time decompressing. So really the preparation ahead of time, and afterwards, either right after or the next morning, what did you take away? What are your aha moments? Jotting those down. I think preparation is super key. And I loved what you said in the article about even if you don't have that much time, just to look back, even if you didn't do everything you committed to doing, look back at what you thought you might do and what really kept you in the way. What would you add on to that?
I think both of those things are really paramount. And the way that we talked about it in coaching is like, what's your big C contract, which is what are we here to do, right? What's the heart of our work together? And how does it make your life better? Because how you're going to get energy for the work is by really imagining yourself in that future state and seeing it and being able to tangibly kind of feel what that's going to feel like. And that's going to give you the energy to do that hard work in between to get you there, right? And if you don't really have a clear vision for what that aspirational future state is, then getting the energy to do the work becomes a lot harder.
I love that visioning, because I think so often people come with the goal of, I want a new job, or I want a promotion. And I'm like, what is it really that you want? And I take this example. I'm trying to get back on a healthy eating kick. I know what to do. I totally know what to do, but it's that bigger goal of why am I doing it? And I'm doing it because I want more energy. I want to feel better about myself. I want to sleep better. So it's not about losing weight. That's not a big thing, but it's like, what's my big goal here? And what's going to keep me from eating the potato chips? Like, so it's that, and I think if you take it from the really bigger outcome, and it's a little bit easier to keep your eye on the prize when you hit a bump in the road or it gets a little slow. So
yeah, and also what you're connecting with is what's your why.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly
like
it.
what's the why behind the goal? Like, how does this actually move the needle for you? Like for me, my health why is I want to ski with my children at 70.
Yeah.
So many people's health declines in their 60s. Yeah. And things that they could do before they just can't do. And I watch these 70-year-olds at Park City and they're like tearing it up with their grandkids.
I'm going to make it even bigger. You want to be skiing with your grandchildren.
Yes. Yes, that's what I want. I want to be skiing with my children and my grandchildren at 70. And I want to
you're really putting it in, like, it is that, what is the why? Because I think that makes it so much easier to stay on track when you're trying to make changes in your life, whether it's career-wise, business-wise, or personally, for sure.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you're talking about is this little C contracting, which is, what do I want to get out of today? What do I want, right? What do I want if I'm going into today's coaching session? What is going to make this worthy of my time? Because all of our clients are busy. All of our clients are successful. All of our clients are pulled in a million different directions. And we want the hour to hour and a half that they spend with us to be really meaningful.
Right.
And by taking even 10 minutes to think about what would make today's coaching session worthy of my time, what do I want to wrestle with? What do I want to walk away with? Is today a dreaming session or is today a doing session, right? Do I want to think about something in a new way, or do I want some tips and tricks and tactics that I can walk away with and experiment with between now and my next session? I think sometimes clients come into a coaching session, they haven't really thought that through, and they get to the end of the session and they're a little frustrated because they didn't get what they needed, because they didn't know what they needed when they came in.
Yeah.
And they only figured out they didn't get what they needed by not getting it by the end, right? And it's like that clarity comes in during the process of them being like, oh, wait, I actually wanted this. I actually wanted to do some dream work and I wanted to wrestle with big questions. And instead you were talking to me about tactics that I'm just not really ready for.
Do you have a favorite framework that you like to use for clients to help them prep for a session?
So I don't. And mainly that's because when I was a busy attorney and I sought out coaching, I worked with several coaches who were like very rigid in their approach. And they had these forms you had to fill out before your sessions. And to me, it felt like a barrier to coaching because I didn't have time to kind of engage in this rubric. I didn't have time to do the things that they wanted me to do that were my homework. And I'm sure they would have been great.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the space for it. And so I try to make things as approachable as possible. But what I'll do is if I notice a pattern where a client has kind of shown up 3 times or 2 times to coaching without doing much thought work, then I might send them some reflection questions coming into a session. So that I can help frame for them what I'm thinking about going in so that they can think about, is that a direction I want them to go? Is that the direction I want today's session to go in? Or is she kind of completely off the reservation in terms of the way she's thinking about this? What about you?
I like to meet the client where they are. So it sounds like exactly what you're doing. I had one client who is a data scientist who loved filling out a form of where are you today? What's the most, what have you done since last time? What didn't you do? And he just loved it. He loved the documentation. He loved everything about it. Most everyone else I've worked with likes the idea that there's a framework they might be able to refer to if they want to, but mostly like to come in with the just with the free form of what's going. And I also, and yet I do find it really critical as you're having those conversations to bring them back into what's the most meaningful thing to take away from today? Like, what do you want to be different as a result of our time together, so that it isn't a kind of a loose framework that doesn't end up giving them something tangible to take away, whether it's a reflection or an action plan or whatever.
Yeah, I often start a coaching session with either what does success look like today, or what do you want to walk away with today, or what is the work worth doing today, right? Like trying to really frame up the what do you need out of our coaching session with them. I also come into every coaching session with an agenda. And then I ask the clients like, well, what did you come into today wanting to do? And I'd say 70% of the time my clients have a good idea. So my agenda often goes just out the window, but it helped me prepare for the session to kind of ground me in where they are. And then if they're like, I just showed up, I've been so busy, things have been crazy, then I can be like, well, great. Well, I've got some things for us to talk about today, right? So it's a lot of give and take with most of my clients in terms of whose agenda we're working on, mine or theirs.
Yeah, I hear you. The other thing that we're kind of touching on, but what I really feel is critical in terms of some of the how to get the most out of coaching is really to be to be open to new ideas, to be what we call in the business, coachable. Mm-hmm. And that's willing to experiment, willing to try something you haven't tried before, and to really push the envelope in terms of your own comfort level. I know when I've had my own coach, they're like, go do that. And I'm like, no way, I'm not going to do that. And then, but you do, and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought, or wow, that was a breakthrough or whatever. So I think that's another really important thing when you come to coaching, is to really be willing to try new things, even if it sounds like something that is hokey to you, or a little woo-woo, or just too out of your comfort zone, to really do that. And I notice the biggest changes with my clients when they do something that I push them to do in a way that brings them to a different point.
I think that being coached requires a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And being willing to do things differently, especially when what you've done has gotten you a certain level of success. Being willing to, say that good old phrase, what got me here won't get me there. And I need to try to do things a little differently if I'm going to level up. And I totally agree with you. There's also an idea, I think, especially with our transition clients, around possibility. So do they believe that what they want is possible? Because if they believe it's possible, they are much more likely to step outside their comfort zone and try some new ways of engaging with the world that maybe they wouldn't have if they hadn't hired a coach. Whereas if they are hiring a coach because they were told they should hire a coach, or because it felt like the next step in their job search, but they don't actually believe that what they're going for is possible, then I find that those clients have a lot more resistance to trying things, even like a new way to structure your resume, that are outside of their normative ways of being.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot to think about.
A lot of possibilities, a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. And, I'll tell you, I hired a coach. You might have heard me talk about her, but her name is Pat Adson. She's passed away, but she coached me when she was 91 years old from the nursing home. She was on oxygen. She coached me by phone. And it was the most amazing, transformative experience of my life. Mm-hmm. And I credit her with so much change that I made in my personal life. And when I went to meet her to like tell her how she had just completely changed my life and how things were so different, she was like, really? Because I really just felt like you were going through the motions. Right? and and I had just finished practicing law when I worked with her. And I am sure that I presented very resistant in all the things that she was telling me to do. And I was doing them. I was quietly behind the scenes after putting up, I'm sure was a very good fight with all my logical reasons about why I didn't need to do these things. I was diligently behind the scenes going and doing every single thing she told me to do.
Oh, that's too funny.
Right.
That gives me hope for one of my lawyer clients.
Yeah. And it really did. She really did change my life. But it was a great reminder to me now that I'm a coach that we might not always be able to see in session to session the impact that the coaching is having on our clients.
And you're bringing up for me one other thing about coaching is that it often is the in-between times, or the times like that aha moment when you reflect on a question that your coach might have asked you and you don't have it in the moment, but you're driving the car and you're at a stop sign and you're like, oh my God, that's it. That's what I need to do. Or that, that's the trigger, or and it's that sort of power that you take away from coaching that you don't realize it in the moment, or in the 6 months, or in the 1 month, or 2 days. It's like that accumulation and those really breakthrough, insightful moments that you can't appreciate when you're doing it, and later you're like, wow, that was such a transformative time for me.
And what you're saying for me is actually reminding me that the reason that coaching is an investment is because it pays off over time. You are actually learning a different way of thinking, right? And you're learning how to self-coach. Yeah. You're not just fishing for a time period, but you really are learning how to fish so that when you get to another crossroads, you have a new skill set, you have a new toolbox that you didn't have before. You have new perspectives and new ways of looking at problems and issues that you didn't have before. And it can continue to serve you for months and years and decades after you actually received the coaching.
I mean, how many clients have you had call you years afterwards, like, I heard you the other day reminding me to do this, or I remembered when we had that conversation. I'm like, you remember what? And I feel the same way about my experiencing with coaching. Just out there, do that.
I've had at least 5 clients tell me that they want to get one of these bracelets made that has a WWSND. What would Sarah-Nell do, right?
There you go.
And I'm like, you guys are so sweet. I really don't have all the answers. Like,
of course not. Of course not. That's the glory of coaching. Right. The client really has the
I am the one asking the questions. The voice you're hearing in your head is actually me asking you the right questions to get you to the answer.
So true. So
well, in conclusion, if you were to leave people in Wayfinders Nation with one parting thought, what would it be?
Ooh, I don't know. I just building on what you just said, it's just like, probably invest in yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. Find a way. Find some area that you feel like is worthy of investment. And it doesn't have to be coaching.
No, of course not. Just like give yourself the gift of growth.
Yeah. And remember that you're worth it.
Totally.
Like just like you invest in your kids, just like your company invests in its people, just like maybe you as a manager invest in your people, remember that you too are worthy of investment and that you too are capable of growth.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me.
I know, it's fun. See you next time.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.